This is why the 25th Amendment was written. It was ratified in 1967, authorizing the Vice President and a majority of the Cabinet to remove the President from power when and if that President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. The 25th Amendment was written for the day when the Democratic leader of the United States Senate could credibly say, quote, "The President is ranting like an unhinged madman," as he said yesterday. It was impossible to imagine, back when they wrote the 25th Amendment, it was impossible for them to imagine a day with the President of the United States ranting like an unhinged madman, until Donald Trump took the oath of office. The 25th Amendment was written for the day when a former Republican member of Congress who voted for that Republican president 3 times would declare to the world, "He has gone insane." The 25th Amendment was written for yesterday at 8:03 a.m. That's what Donald Trump delivered his Easter greeting to the world that included a promise to commit war crimes on Tuesday night. The 25th Amendment was written for this. Most of you have seen this profane and perverse social media post. I am not going to read it, as is customary for such exhibits introduced on TV news programs, because it is pure warmongering, filthy madness. I will not use it as an opportunity for audiences to get to hear another anchorman using the dirty word. I will not read Donald Trump's poison aloud because it is beneath my dignity, and that's not a phrase I use very often. And we should all be deeply concerned about living in a country where an anchorman's dignity, indeed the dignity of anyone, anywhere in the country, on any television show, is much, much higher than the dignity of the depraved President of the United States. But that is where we are tonight. Dear Trump supporters, this is what you've become. This is what you think Easter is for. And I say Trump supporters to mean people who are still Trump supporters. If you woke up yesterday a Trump supporter and then you saw what Donald Trump said and you hated every word of it, welcome to the Enlightenment. Welcome to facing the reality of who and what he is. One consistent Trump voter who is no longer a Trump supporter, who broke with Donald Trump over his cover-up of the Epstein files, former Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene composed her thoughts about an hour and 40 minutes after Donald Trump's social media post. And I submit this to Trump supporters who have not yet seen Donald Trump in the light that Marjorie Taylor Greene now sees him in. She was very close to him. She was his friend, she thought. And I'm sure there are many important issues of disagreement that I could explore with Marjorie Taylor Greene, but no Republican issued a better, more focused, more thorough response to Donald Trump on Easter morning than Marjorie Taylor Greene. She raised every issue that Republicans claim to care about, especially Republicans who claim to be Christian. Marjorie Taylor Greene wrote, "On Easter morning, this is what President Trump posted. Everyone in his administration that claims to be a Christian needs to fall on their knees and beg forgiveness from God and stop worshiping the president and intervene in Trump's madness. I know all of you and him, and he has gone insane, and all of you are complicit. Our president is not a Christian, and his words and actions should not be supported by Christians. Christians in the administration should be pursuing peace, urging the president to make peace, not escalating war that is hurting people. This is not what we promised the American people when they overwhelmingly voted in 2024. I know, I was there more than most. This is not making America great again. This is evil. This is evil. He has gone insane. Our president is not a Christian. There has never been the slightest evidence that Donald Trump is, in any real sense, a Christian. There's nothing religious about him. He never goes to church. He didn't go to church yesterday on Easter. There's never been the slightest evidence that Donald Trump comprehends any of the teachings of Jesus. He certainly never heard the part about turn the other cheek. Donald Trump announced today at the White House that they used 155 aircraft and hundreds of military personnel in that rescue mission to save that one colonel who ejected from the back seat of an F-15 that the Iranians shot down on Friday, when Donald Trump had said the Iranians couldn't possibly do that. Donald Trump said they had no air defenses in Iran. And they humiliated Donald Trump by proving him wrong, by shooting down his planes, shooting down 2 of his planes. The pilot of that plane was rescued within hours of the shootdown. The still unnamed, seriously injured colonel had to hide for 48 hours before the rescue team could find him and save him without losing any other military personnel in that very risky mission. They did lose 2 rescue planes worth $100 million each that they had to leave behind in Iran and destroy as they were leaving. And today, at the White House, that brilliant rescue was described by the Secretary of Defense and by General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as a long-standing American military rule of never leaving anyone behind.
We leave no man behind.
That is, of course, the old school version of the idea back when only men flew American military planes. General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, put it this way.
We leave no one behind.
The general knows, unlike Pete Hegseth, that could have been a woman they were trying to rescue, and it might be a woman the next time. But this 21st century notion that we leave no one behind ignores the 120,000 prisoners of war held by German and Japanese forces in World War II for years who were left behind. And the idea of using 155 aircraft and hundreds of military personnel on an immediate rescue mission for a single person of any rank was inconceivable in World War II or in Vietnam, where we left John McCain behind. John McCain was shot down in the skies over North Vietnam, and at the time, no one tried to rescue him. In fact, he was injured in the crash of his plane in a lake in Hanoi and was helped out of the water by the North Vietnamese people his plane was there to attack. John McCain spent the next 5 years in a prison camp in North Vietnam where he was repeatedly tortured. And in Donald Trump's first full month as a politician and a presidential candidate, he attacked Republican Senator John McCain. And when reminded that John McCain was a war hero, Donald Trump said he's not a war hero.
He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he
camp.
was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
I like people who weren't captured. That colonel heard him say that. That colonel who spent 48 hours hoping not to be captured in Iran knew that the first thing that Donald Trump ever said in his political life about American pilots shot down in combat was, he's not a war hero. I like people who weren't captured. Trump supporters listened to Donald Trump say that about John McCain 11 years ago, and then they voted for him. And they gave us this. Marjorie Taylor Greene heard Donald Trump say that 11 years ago, and then she voted for him. And now Marjorie Taylor Greene says he has gone insane. As I mentioned to Rachel the first time we had a discussion with former Harvard Medical School psychiatrist Dr. Lance Dotis about Donald Trump's mental health and how close he was to insane was in the first month of his first presidency in 2017.
Lying in the way that he does it, repeated, dangerous lying, makes him unfit and is a sign of serious mental disturbance. And to the extent he doesn't know reality, and I agree, by the way, I don't think he does know reality clearly. He doesn't have a clear grasp of it because he changes it. He makes up reality to suit his internal needs.
That was 11 years ago. 11 years ago. But tonight, Marjorie Taylor Greene believes Donald Trump is insane. She's seen enough. She has finally seen enough.